Hello and welcome. Today we shall discuss the HQ slots for the Horus Heresy army. The commanders of the Horus Heresy, or the Great Crusade, were unmatched fighters who brought ruin to numerous Xenos civilizations and incompliant human settlements. Now that the Civil War began, they only bring ruin to humanity. So as I told you before, we will discuss the Force Org slot of the HQs, which will include all HQ slot options. Number 1 is the Praetor of the Astartes Legions. It's a chapter master level unit. You could compare him to a chapter master in 40k. He is an exceptional fighter. He's expensive. He has no real troop costs, but if you not bring a Primarch, he more likely than not will lead your Death Star or your elite troops into melee combat. He has the access to the mighty Paragon Blade, which is an exceptional dueling weapon, and also comes with Artificer armor. His base costs are 100. Some legions, like the Iron Warriors or Iron Hands, had higher ranks than the Praetor. For the Iron Warriors, that would be a Warsmith for plus 15 points. He is basically the same as the Praetor. He comes with a Warlord trait, which is Shatter Defenses. That means he takes -1 from the cover save from a terrain piece in the enemy's deployment zone. So if your enemy brings an Aegis defense line, the Praetor makes it worse by -1. The Warsmith, sorry. He comes with a Cortex controller, so he can control the Iron Circle from Perturabo or other Mechanicum units. He can't have a jet bike or a jump pack, and he can have a servo arm for 35 points, so he can have the Battlesmith rule, which means he can repair armory, tanks, dreadnoughts, and so on. The Iron Hands have something very similar, but a little different. It is the Iron Father, who costs 40 points more. He comes with a servo arm already attached. He has a Feel No Pain of 6 up, and he also can have no bikes or jet bikes. But all of these are the strongest melee fighter, bar their fathers, in the Heresy. Notable Praetors, for example, are Abaddon, Khan, and so on. Then you have the Master of Armor, which is a tank commander for the Astartes Legions. He comes in a Predator or a Sicaran, and he also has the Master of the Legion rule, like the Praetor, which means he can unlock a Rite of War. He ignores the Crew Shaken result on 4-up, which makes your crew snapshot only. And he comes for, if you have in a Predator, he has 75 points. If he is in a Sicaran, he's 165 points without base. We're talking only about the base costs here. And if you have an Armored Breakthrough list, the Armored Breakthrough is a Rite of War, which means you can have Predators as troops choices, so it's a tank army. I would say you can use the Master of Armor as your HQ. It would make a lot of sense. Then, this is a loyalist only choice. It's the Knights Errant. Knights Errant are the Space Marine agents of Malcador, which were tasked by Malcador with certain missions. to complete during the heresy. These are exceptionally, they cost a lot, 115 points base, and they come with an iron halo. They need to get a task, a mission, at the start of the game, and they are not very starter friendly. So if you are not playing a fluffy mission with your friends, or a campaign, for example, I wouldn't use the Knights Errant. If you want to use them anyway, use them. They're a great fluffy choice. So now we come to the Centurion, the consul. So the Astartes consul is one choice in the Astartes legions, but he has upgrades, a lot of upgrades, and we will go through all of them here. So the base consul Centurion is just a beefy sergeant, has 2 wounds, 3 attacks, and he's pretty cheap for 50 points. He comes with power armor. The Amristos is a heavy support consul. He costs plus 20 points to the 50. He buffs Heavy Bolter or Volkite Culverin squads and do not get him into melee. He makes them master crafted. So basically I would say that if you like heavy weapon squads, or you have a lot of them, and a Heavy Bolter squad or a Volkite Culverin squad, I would buy one, but that's basically it. He has also great fluff values. Then we have the Champion. The Champion costs plus 35 points. He gets 1 more weapon skill, so he's up to 6, like the Praetor. He can have a Paragon Blade. He must challenge, but he's squishy, and also 35 points is expensive. And add the Paragon Blade to that, and he will get up in points rather quickly. The Chaplain HQ is an expensive upgrade, 35 points, but he gets a free power weapon. He causes fear. He gives the unit the Zealot special rule, so that they never retreat, or that they get hatred on the first turn, which means all hit rolls of 1 in the assault phase when they charged get rerolled. This is a good HQ for a melee squad, or for an assault squad even. Give your Chaplain a jump pack and put him in a 50-man assault squad, or 20. And then he can be a great flanking unit. The Delgatus, for 15 points, is a cheap master of the Legion and has a free master crafted weapon. So if you play lower point games and want a master of the Legion, and then you can use the Delgatus, so you can access Rites of War more easily and cheaper. But other than that, he's just a normal Centurion, so look out. Early Crusade Honors is another consul type. He's also 35 points. He has the Child of Terror rule, Warlord trait, so you don't roll for a Warlord trait with this unit. He's very expensive for 35 points. And I don't like, usually the Centurions buff your units in some way or another, but this one's, I can't really see it, except you wanna have the fluff reasons that you are an early Crusade force and you get led by this one. But don't let my words disencourage you from using this unit. Then we have the esoterists. So there's a difference between the loyalists and the traitors here. The esoterists for the loyalists has sanctic has the sanctic demonology. Sorry, I screwed that. That means that he's very good against demons, that he debuffs demons and so on. They got introduced in the in book 8, Malevolence. So when the demons got released, and they are a good choice for the loyalists if they want to combat demons effectively. He's a support officer, so he cannot be a compulsory HQ choice. For the traitors, he buffs demons and himself and his squad, and basically it's the same. The Forge Lord is a beefy tech marine, so it's a stronger tech marine. He can repair vehicles better than any other, better than others, and he's very good in tank lists. So if you want to have a breakthrough list, chuck him in a Land Raider, and he will serve you well. So now we have the Herald, and the Herald has very different roles in the two sides of the heresy. The Herald Consul costs 40 points, is a Master of the Legion, and for the Loyalists, buffs surrounding unit to a max weapon skill of 5, and also surrenders a victory points when he dies, and is a support officer. So basically, for the Loyalists, if you are fighting a melee heavy force and you only have your tactical marines at hand, I would use a Herald to buff your troops so they have a better weapon skill, so they hit them back harder. For the traitors, the Herald comes with the Banner of the Eye, is a Master of the Legion, that's the same, also surrenders a victory point after death, and he helps you to get into melee. So you add 1 inch to your charge rolls and run rolls, and reroll once to hit on the charge. So they both buff melee, but the traitor helps you to get into melee, and the loyalist makes you more survivable in melee, or even stronger. You can charge, but you won't get there faster. Then you have the Primus Medicae, which is the Chief Apothecary. He is plus 45 points, so he's the cost of, so you add the cost of an Apothecary on the Centurion. He grants a feel no pain, and if you play kill points and one of your units get destroyed within 6 inches of the Primus Medicae, on a 5-up, he grants your dead squad grants you a victory point also. Then comes the Siegebreaker. Siegebreaker gives a squad tank hunter is 45 points, gives a squad wrecker and tank hunter, unlocks phosphex shells for Medusas and quad mortars, and is very good for artillery armies because he unlocks very potent rounds for them. And for Iron Warriors, if you are playing Iron Warriors, you always need a Siegebreaker or a Warsmith. Then there's the Warmonger. The Warmonger is also a new consul. He can deep strike with his unit. He comes with digilasers and an iron halo, and he deep strike. He can deep strike. So you can deep strike him and his Terminator retinue into the enemy deployment zone. The Praevian Consul is a support officer for plus 35 points and needs to bring a unit of Castellax or Vorax battle automata. So he unlocks some Mechanicum units for the legions. Castellax, Thalax, and Vorax. These are the units you can use when you bring a Praevian Consul. The Mortificator plus 25 points is basically like a Praevian just for Dreadnoughts. He has a Dreadnought squad and he buffs them. For example, on a 5 up, they just ignore any result of crew shaken or any result of a glancing or a penetrating hit. He's very extremely rarely he's rarely used, and he's also very new from Book 8. So kudos for you if you use him. Then you have the Moritat Consul for 45 points. He deep strikes and he's a glass cannon. He's a lone killer and he also has the chain fire rule. So a Moritat comes with 2 pistols, blasts away with the pistols until they overheat or he doesn't hit his target, and then he can't fire anymore. After that he's pretty much done, because he's just one model and he will get destroyed immediately. But he's like a... how can you say it? He's like a man on a mission. So the Moritat is can be very good in a Blood Angels army, because they can have Inferno pistols. So imagine him deep striking next to a vehicle without armored ceramite, and then him blasting away with the 2 Inferno pistols. He will definitely destroy it. Then the Librarian Consul. We all know Librarians from Warhammer 40k. They are basically the same in the Heresy, but in Horus Heresy they are rather unfluffy role Centurion for most legions, because the Council of Nicaea was actually spoken out, so they weren't allowed to use Psychers. Just a couple of legions even used them, and so if you want to bring them in a Blood Angels, White Scars, or even an Ultramarines army, or every traitor army basically, except the Iron Warriors and the Death Guard, you can do that, but usually it's not a fluffy choice. The Master of Signals is an upgrade for 45 points. He's also a support officer, so he can't be a compulsory troop, but he grants you an orbital bombardment. That's D3, Strength 8, AP3 Lance templates you can drop on the enemy once a game. And if he doesn't shoot himself, not if he doesn't shoot himself, but if he doesn't shoot that round, he can buff the BS of units by 1. So that's good to buff any heavy weapon squads. And also 6 inches around him, units don't scatter if they deep strike. The Vigilator, plus 35 points, is a Sniper HQ model that also has the Saboteur rule, which means that one unit gets D6 Strength 5 AP6 attacks after deployment. So basically he just he sabotages one unit with a IAD or something, and then they suffer some hits from that. It's not that good, but it's kinda okay. And then he also has a sniper rifle and the sniper special rule, so he always wounds his targets on 4 up, and on a 6 up he has AP2. But he also has Scorpius rounds, which are already AP2, so doesn't make the greatest of sense to give him that rule, but whatever. Wounding everything on 4 up is good, but they also against vehicles it counts like having strength 4, so most vehicles you are not even able to glance on the front. Then the Diabolist is a word bearer only consul. He's 35 points. He's a demon. That means he has a 5 up save. He can be a psyker for 30 points, and he has preferred enemy loyalists. Also, every word bearer's army always needs a Diabolist, a Praetor, a base consul, or a chaplain as an HQ's choice, as an compulsory HQ's choice. So the word bearer's Diabolist can't join units because he's a demon. So you have to think about that. Or he can join demon units. So if you're playing a summoning word bearers list, you can use him. That's no problem. But otherwise I would not, because you can't hide him in your units. And then for the last choice of this video, it's the Damocles Command Rhino. It's 100 points, and it's basically a Master of Signals as a Rhino. The Master of Signals can also take the Rhino as a dedicated transport squad. It has a 6-man capacity. It does basically the same as the Master of Signals, but is not a consul and can be a compulsory troop choice. So that's it for today. I know it's a long video, but there's a lot of different console options available. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Stay safe, and goodbye.